In this 3-part series, I'll be overhauling the top end of my 2024 KTM 300 EXC TBI. This is the first part of a 3-part series in which I'll be overhauling the top end of my 2024 KTM 300 EXC TBI, which has done 130 hours. The first part, I'll be disassembling the top end, inspecting the parts and measuring the cylinder bore. In the second part, I'll be overhauling the power valve, and the final part, I'll be reassembling the top end. I've already removed the seat, tank, exhaust system, and I've cleaned off dust and dirt, especially in this area, under the frame, anything that could drop down onto the engine. And I've disconnected the battery, the earth terminal. This is particularly important because the 2024 model has an electronic power valve, so a really good idea to disconnect the power. First up, I'm going to drain the coolant, and you drain it using the lower screw. You can easily spot it, it's got a copper washer on it. Just remove it and drain it into a container. And I'm just taking off the radiator cap to allow air into the system so the coolant can drain. And once all the coolant's drained, you can go ahead and reinstall the screw in the water pump cover, and the torque is 10 Newton meters. Next, I'm going to unplug the electronic power valve, and to do that I need to remove this cover. This is a Bulletproof Designs protection cover. If you've got the standard one, it's a plastic cover, very similar. And this one has some zip ties to hold the cabling, so I'm cutting those off and remove the cover. And there's some rubber bushings, so be careful not to lose those. Okay, I've put the screws back in with the cover removed so I don't lose the bushings. And I'm going to remove the connector. You just push this in and pull down gently. Next, I'm going to remove the engine braces. To remove the screws, you'll need a Torx 45 bit, and you also need to remove the cable rubber holder. Next, I'm going to remove the coolant hoses, so this top one and also the one that crosses from the lower radiator from the right to the left. With this removed, it'll give me more room when I want to remove the cylinder. And my bike has a temp sensor mounted here, which would interfere with the cylinder coming up. Next, I'm going to remove the spark plug cap in preparation for removing the head. And now I'm going to remove the head, and I'm going to use a crisscross loosening pattern. And I've removed the screws, but the head is quite stuck on, so I'm going to use a mallet. Give it a few taps. And it was quite stuck on there, but did loosen up eventually. If yours is stuck on, definitely don't try and jam anything under here, because you'll probably damage the cylinder and head. Next, I'm going to remove my power valve cover. I will need to remove it anyway to get clearance for this nut. And now I'm going to remove the power valve actuator. These screws are just held in loosely, as you saw me remove them before, which held on my Bulletproof Designs cover. And then I'm going to remove this one. And it just comes out very easily. And you should note that if you do remove the actuator, you will need to recalibrate the power valve. I do have a video on how to do that. Next, I'm going to remove the crankcase pressure sensor connector. And it has this catch here. You just lift it up and slide the connector off. And I'm just checking the clearance for removing the cylinder. And my bike has a flange guard mounted, which you can just see here. And clearance with the frame is not that great, so I'm going to go ahead and remove the flange guard. It's a little bit difficult to see, so I'm just going to do that off camera. And next I'm going to remove the left-hand side power valve cover. If you don't remove this, you can't access this stud nut. Okay, now I'm ready to undo the cylinder stud nuts, and I'm going to do it in a crisscross pattern. And before you try and remove the cylinder, you need the piston in the lowest part of the stroke. And you can look down, see where it is. If it isn't in the lowest part, you can put it in gear and then bump the piston round using the rear wheel. And now I'm ready to lift the cylinder off. I'm going to give it a few taps just to loosen it up a little bit. I can see it's loose there, so it should lift off. And next I'm going to remove the piston. I'm going to remove clip from this side and push the piston pin out. And to remove the piston pin, I'm using the Tokyo off-road piston pin removal tool, and I'll gently tap it with a hammer. And with the cylinder off, you can do some basic checks of the conrod and crankshaft. I do have a separate video on this which goes into some detail. I'll provide a link in the description of this video. One of the basic checks you can do is look at the condition of the conrod, and you want to make sure there's no scoring or signs of excessive heat. My conrod looks great, in great shape, and I can't see any score marks or anything. The other basic check you can do is to put the bike into neutral and then pull up on the conrod and then push down without moving it side to side, and check for any signs of play. So you want to hold the crankshaft in place and pull up and down. And I can't feel any play at all, so that's a good sign. You can also do it when it's right at the bottom of the stroke and pull up and down. And again, I can't feel any play at all. So the bike has only done 130 hours. I would expect the bottom end to go for probably 500 hours before it needs overhauling. And if you want to do some other checks, I do provide various tests you can do in the video I'm linking to, so check that out if you're interested. And then inspecting the piston, the crown has coating of carbon, certainly not running lean. I prefer my bikes to run on the rich side. Typically results in a little more torque, which is good for lugging. On the intake side, it looks in really good shape. I can still see the machine marks on the piston, and certainly no damage I can feel. A few light wear marks, no major scratches at all. Some signs of blow-by here, but yeah, that looks good. And 130 hours, I'm pretty pleased with the shape the piston is in. Along the skirt, there's no signs of damage. And then going around to the exhaust side, these scratches here are from when I took the cylinder off. And this area a little bit more polished, a little bit more worn, but no signs of major damage. And yeah, I'm pretty pleased with that. Some blow-by here. I think good interval to change the piston, but kind of what I was expecting the piston to look like, and please, there's no signs of major damage. And this is the piston pin. You can see some signs of heat, but I did feel it, and you can't feel anything. So there's no major wear, and other than the heat signs there, the pin is in good shape. And then looking at the cylinder, it's in really good shape. I lightly wiped it down to get rid of the oil. This is the intake side, and you can still clearly see the cross hatching. And I've felt around, I can't feel any damage. There's a few light wear marks, which you can see around here, but there's nothing deep at all. So really good shape, very pleased with it. And this is the exhaust side, and again, minimal signs of wear. You can still clearly see the cross hatching, and no damage that I can feel with my fingernail. A few very light wear marks, but yeah, nothing significant, and I'll just clean it up and continue to use it. And here you can see the left-hand side of the cylinder, and inside the power valve cover is a 02. Initially I thought this might be the piston size or the bore size, but it is not. That information is on the other side. And you can see here the cylinder is made by Elco. And this is the right-hand side of the cylinder, and here is the bore size of the cylinder. So it's a number 1 size, so they either come 1 or 2. Mine is the smaller size, number 1. I will be measuring the bore to figure out what size piston to use going forwards. And the only unfortunate thing I found on my inspection of the cylinder is the flange is cracked, and you can see here clearly it's cracked right through, and the crack continues to around here. I'm going to try repairing it. I'll weld it up and see how that holds up. I have looked into the price of replacement flanges. They are available, and they're not too expensive, so if the weld doesn't work out, I'll replace it. I have been using a flange guard, but pretty rough on my bike for hard enduro racing, and yeah, it's unfortunate, but these things do happen. To measure the bore of the cylinder, I'm using a Mitutoyo bore gauge. I have a separate video on this, and I'll provide a link to the description if you want to know the details of the equipment and measurement methodology. I'm going to be measuring front to rear, left to right, both top and bottom, and I'll provide the results for you. And you simply put the bore gauge in and find your measurement by rocking it to and fro. And in the repair manual, they provide measurements for both 250 and 300, size 1 and size 2 cylinders. So for the 300, the size 1 cylinder should be between 72 and 72.012 millimeters. Size 2 is larger, from 72.012 up to 72.025. So based on these measurements, you can determine what size piston you should be fitting. And here you can see the bore measurement results. Front to rear top was 72.008, left to right top was 72, front to rear bottom was 72.008, and left to right bottom was 70.002. So all of these results are within the size 1 measurement range, which is up to 72.012. So I'm going to go ahead and use a size 1 piston for my rebuild. So this is the end of part 1. In part 2, I'll be overhauling the power valve.